Hello everyone, my name is Anya and today I am going to talk about Milia and her various uses for FD. If you don't know what FD is, I recommend that you go to the mission mode in Guilty Gear Strive and get comfortable with Milia before watching this video. What I'm going to talk about today is not something that is required to do in order to play Milia. She is a fairly technical character that is difficult to use effectively. It's important to reach a certain level of comfort with her movement and tools before attempting to use advanced techniques. Forcing it would probably cause you to play worse overall, so please keep that in mind as we go through the video. So before we can talk about how to use it, we should first make sure that we understand what FD actually does. You should already know that FD prevents chip damage and pushes the opponent further away. But today we are going to talk about two different aspects of FD. First, it makes you land faster, and second, it leaves you facing your opponent and keeps your forward momentum. Here is a short clip demonstrating the difference in fall speed and momentum. Next, we are going to explore a few ways we can apply this new technique. Let's see how using FD affects our air normals. By flashing FD here, Milia autocorrects to face the opponent. The reason we use Jump K in this clip specifically is to help visualize the autocorrect. We can use Jumping Heavy Slash in the same way, but it is 2 frames slower than Jumping K, which does matter sometimes. There's a slight difference in startup between Instant Air Dash Air Normal, Instant Air Dash Delay Air Normal, and Instant Air Dash FD into Air Normal. Each option is important and has different use cases that we are going to talk about throughout this video. Since we can't possibly cover every single use for each option, I am going to mainly focus on uses for FD specifically and introduce different ways to use it in different situations. Now that we better understand how it works, we can talk about how to use it. So let's start by talking about cross-ups. Milia's Jumping Heavy Slash is great for hitting cross-ups, but if it hits immediately after an air dash, Milia cannot confirm it into a combo without using meter. It's possible to get a knockdown if Milia significantly delays Jumping Heavy, but what if Milia could get the same confirm with a faster cross-up? So this is where FD comes in. Inputting FD for just a few frames before Jumping Heavy puts Milia at the most optimal height for maximum frame advantage. To help visualize the difference in frame advantage, let's have Sol mash 5k after blocking. Instant Air Dash Jumping Heavy Slash is only +1 on block if the opponent is already standing when the move comes out. Since Milia's normals are slow, this can lose or trade with a lot of moves, and most options can be beaten by a throw. The closer we are to the ground before hitting our opponent with Jumping Heavy, the faster we can move, the more frame advantage we have. But the more we delay our approach, the more susceptible we are to counterattacks from our opponent. Using FD in this way reduces the amount of vulnerable time while increasing advantage, essentially min-maxing risk return during pressure. That's not all we can do with it though. For example, faster landing means faster empty lows, and faster Okizeme mix-ups. Let's introduce a few concepts and setups for offense. Milia's Okizeme mix-ups are already hard to block. At a basic level, they have 2 layers. First one being the left-right mix-up, and the second being the high-low mix-up. Meaning that first the opponent must guess between a left-right, and even if they block the left-right mix-up, there's still a mix-up between high and low. We are going to build on top of her basic mix-ups and make them even more unpredictable and hard to block. It's important to emphasize that these are not a replacement but an addition to Milia's basic Okizeme. Mixing these options up effectively is going to confuse the opponent and force them to guess, even more than before. Some of these mix-ups are possible even without the use of FD, but FD makes them faster due to the faster landing. Now you might be thinking, but Anya, what if people start looking for the FD flash and immediately switch to a low block? Well, Milia has 2 air dashes, my friend. Let's look at some options starting with a same side fake overhead into a low. Next up is a cross-up into a delayed overhead. A familiar but slightly faster cross-up into an empty low. Cross-up FD into overhead. Cross-up fake overhead into a low. And a double cross-up into a low. These are just a few ideas to start with. I really recommend that you experiment on your own and explore different options. Once you get a feel for it, all that's left to do is mix and match and see what works where and when. Especially when the opponent is conditioned to block, Melia's options for mix-up are near infinite, and they're all very difficult to react to. And most ideas and setups shown here can be applied on pressure too, not only during H-tandem or Kizuna. Generally though, the longer you move around, the more likely your opponent is to press a button or try to get out, so the quicker options are preferred. To give a quick example, let's talk about close slash. Making the opponent block a close slash already puts them in a situation where they have to guess between many different options. Like Bad Moon, which is an instant overhead that even punishes jump startup, a low 2S or 2D, a throw, another close slash, or even a frame trap. Adding AAD-FD jumping heavy to the mix, which is a quick cross-up overhead that combos on hit and is plus on block, really makes things scary. Not to mention Melia can always just mix in a low option as well. Now all that is nice and all on paper, but what's the catch? Is it practical to do all this in a real match? Well, yes and no. It requires very precise execution, awareness, and decision-making to use effectively. It's not always the correct decision to use FD like this, and there's a certain balance in certain situations where it's more or less effective depending on many different factors. For one, FD uses meter. Even if flashing it only uses a little bit of meter, it could end up being a deciding factor in a round if we're missing just a little bit of meter to RC or Super, for example. It could also prevent us from quickly using 100 meter. Since RC activates a tension gain cooldown, using FD right before or after RC could prevent certain follow-ups. In situations where it's best to get a button out as soon as possible, FD adds to the startup. It could also make Melia land faster in situations where the opponent is above her, and she otherwise could have landed a hit. What happens if we mess up the input? Well, doing the input too early or inaccurately could result in a random whiffed air normal, which leaves her open to attacks or throws for a while. Letting go of FD or pressing the air normal too late results in an empty jump where it might be undesirable. Since Melia is not exactly at her strongest on defense, a drop like that could easily lose her the round. You can try it for yourself and decide on your own if for you it's worth going for or not. In most cases, I would actually recommend against using it because for most levels of play, the effort is just not worth the result, and even experienced players can drop the input and lose the game for it. With all that said, I do believe that if used correctly, this technique is strong and adds a lot to the game and Melia specifically, so I do encourage more experienced players to give it a shot and explore how it affects different interactions. I made this video because I was really excited to share this tech with everyone and want to see more Melia players use it. If this at least taught you something new or gave you new ideas, then I'm happy. If you have any questions or want to see me play live, I stream every day on twitch.tv/bananyan. I actively respond to chat as well, so please don't be shy to ask questions. Thank you all for watching, and see you next time!